Happy New Year to one and all. This is the time of the year again. The time where we all tend to make New Year resolutions only to break them about 2 weeks later. Well, I'm not one to make New Year resolutions. In fact, to me, the New Year is all about being the gateway between the past, saying goodbye to the previous year, and the future, welcoming the future year. Therefore, as a very special day, I've decided to do a special update video. We have an interesting itinerary today, filled with both an outlook for the future and a reminiscing of the past. I'll first talk about my upcoming schedule, followed by talking about some Netrunner content, websites and channels that I peruse. This is actually something very close and important to me, even though as a content creator I should be most proud of my own work, but I think without the help and support of these other content creators that have helped shape and grow our community, I wouldn't be where I am today, and neither will most of us. Therefore, I think it's only right that I give some free publicity and spread the word about them. After all, if you, dear viewer, have enough free time to watch all my videos because my upload schedule is very, very packed, I'm sure you have enough time to check out their content as well, and there's always something new to learn from everyone. While I cover a very good niche myself, I'm sure, or rather I know that other channels have their own niches as well, and you should definitely check them out to give yourself a very good coverage of the Netrunner scene. Following that, we'll have a short Netrunner art quiz where everyone's free to take part. Yep. And finally, we'll finish with an after-action review of my New Year's Eve or New Year's live stream video of Dumble Forks. That was done live, played live, but I did not have the time to review it back until now. So I'll be doing the after-action review at the end of this. Let's begin our itinerary. We start with our tentative schedule. So firstly, as you notice, I conducted 2 live streams very recently, and there will be more to come in the first half of the month where my real life schedule is slightly less packed. I'd like to hear your comments on the new format. Differing from past live streams, what I'm doing this time is longer live streams. They used to be about 1.5 hours at most, covering two to three games. The new ones are longer marathons of 5 to 6 games each, and they focus on a single particular deck. I'm not alternating sides or showing off new decks. I am grinding solid decks. Let me know if you welcome or do not like the new change in format. I think it's pretty good because you can tune into the live stream if you're interested in the deck. If the deck doesn't interest you at all, you're free to not watch the stream. I think that's a pretty good format, but as always, I like to hear your feedback. In 2 days from now, January the 3rd, I'll be doing double-headed commentary with Theo, which is always something really fun to do, and I hope to do more of this in the future with other guests. Followed by a very, very good game, one that I haven't had in a very long time, with Andromeda. Be sure to check that out. That's coming on January the 5th. This is a must-watch regardless of who you are. You have to watch it. Alright, so now we are done with schedule. Let's move on to our second section of this video, which is my promotion of Netrunner content. These are content creators who I personally endorse because either I've been featured on them or, more importantly, I use them a lot myself. So here we go. Starting with video content. There are lots of video content creators nowadays, which is a good thing. As I always advocate, the more the merrier, to the point where arguably the video content creation niche has pretty much been saturated. However, there are still always niches to be filled, such as the competitive discussion. I feel that that's a niche that is still lacking, and one that I'm not adequately covering enough. I hope to do more of that in the coming year, but for now, here's what I promote. For tournament coverage, in past years like 2013 and 14, you'll find that there are not that many videos aside from Team Covenant, because there just isn't sufficient coverage. A lot of games went uncovered, which is a huge pity, but right now, especially in the year 2016, no game goes unnoticed, no game goes unfilmed, because we have Neo Red and Grid from our very own UK, and Dodge Pong, who is covering the US. All the major tournaments have very good coverage, and we can always watch them back. whether it's one day later, 1 month later, or even a year later, to review the meta, and for and for casual and experienced players alike, to analyze the games back in retrospect. So this is really, really good, and I would like this to continue in the future, which is why I'm giving this big shout out. Go check out the channels. It's Neo Red and Grid for the UK and Dodge Pong from the US. They both typically stream live on Twitch, their respective Twitch channels, when there is a live tournament. Code Marvelous deserves a big shout out because he does videos in a very or should I say, my channel has quite a few similarities to him. We love creative deck building, and we love playing those games live on JNet. He does one up from me in the sense that he invites lots of different guests from around the world of both competitive and semi-competitive players. So there's always a deck out there for you, whether it's janky or very serious. There's always a video out there for you. So his channel's a must-watch, if only because there's almost certainly something for you. That's A&R Black Hats on YouTube. And there was one video where I did with him as well. After coming in second at Worlds, I did playthrough with my sync deck, Fiery Info. Be sure to check it out. Finally, there's Kiv. He does JNet content as well, just like me. And again, his deck building is one up from mine. He does a lot more creative decks than mine. If you love jank, you must check it out. It's Chris M. Just search it on YouTube, maybe with the word Netrunner, and you'll find it. Moving on to podcasts. Now, I must admit, I don't really watch that many of the video channels because I just tend to spend more time making my own videos. Please forgive me. But for podcasts, I do consume a lot of their content simply because they are very easy to consume on the daily commute to work or wherever. It's something that can easily be downloaded and then listened to on the way to wherever. So this is something I listen to a lot, and I can highly recommend these three for you. Most of them are from the UK, because I just love UK banter, and what better way to get that than the premier podcast, Netrunner podcast, in my opinion, Run Last Click. They have been around for a very, very long time, and they have been doing an absolutely solid job, only improving from year to year. Can't recommend it enough. Go to runlastklick.blogspot.com. Their channel is a relatively newcomer to the scene, but it's been run by Neo Red and Grid, which has been around for as long as I have. So be sure to check that out as well. They have a very interesting section. They usually on the last segment of each of their podcasts, they do Netrunner theme game, whether it's guess the card by its flavor text or by something. It's a lot of fun, and viewers can participate as well, along with the guests that they invite. So it's definitely a must-watch if you enjoy Netrunner related games. And finally, there's The Source, run by a group of fine people from Florida who do player interviews, most notably. Always inviting good guests, and once again, I've been on it before. Do check it out. They do very nice interviews and always manage to find the insight and ask some really good stuff. So check out the interviews, especially with the players from Worlds. They have done a whole series on that, which was pretty cool. Now, moving on to final content. Besides audio and video, there's also other platforms for content, most notably in print. Online print, shall we say. Slack is the biggest one. I joined Slack roughly a year ago, and I have not looked back since then. If not for Slack, I'm pretty confident I wouldn't have made it to Worlds, and that was where all the magic occurred, and where things became good for me. So obviously, Slack is where your dreams come true. I can't recommend it enough. Get on there if you're not already on it, because Slack is the place to be. It's where most of the online community hangs out on. There's also Reddit, also a very popular hub for people to hang out on. I don't comment on it very often. What I do go there for, however, is for updates. You can be sure that when there's a new Most Wanted List update, a new article, or a new FFG article, there will be coverage on Reddit. Someone will post it there within 10 minutes or so. That's your one-stop news shop for you. That's our Netrunner. Secondary to that, that is also where you get all the latest article updates. So articles are scattered all over the net, and there are too many websites for me to list, but some of the most notable ones which I do look out for are those written by UK players. That's on netrunners.co.uk. Those written by the big boy, which is on runthenet.wordpress.com, as well as some notable writers from steamhack.com. All of these feature high quality content. You should check them out if you want to become a better player, or if you just want a good read. They are all really good articles. They all feature some really good articles, shall I say. Finally, there's a special site I need to mention. It's a relative newcomer called alwaysberunning.net. This is a tournament database in the same vein as Aku, but way better because it is fully customized for Netrunner and has NetrunnerDB integration. So if you attend a tournament and your deck is on NetrunnerDB, you can simply link it straight from the website, and it will just link it for you automatically. It's that good. And it has a very slick interface and holds a lot of stats. So be sure to update your tournament stats there and check it out because it offers a wealth of information. Highly recommended. That does it for our second section. Now let's move on to the fun part of this video, the art quiz that you all have been waiting for. I've conducted several art quizzes on UK Slack, on SteamHack Slack, and they have been rather successful. I'm gonna do one on my video channel this time. The theme today is balls. Sounded weird, huh? Well, basically what I'm gonna do is to show you 9 pictures of balls in Netrunner art, and your job is to figure out which card features art that contains these 9 images. Are you ready? Put on your thinking caps. Here are the images. Do you need more time? Was that too fast? No worries, pause the video, go back, rewind it. Take your time to figure out what's number 1 through 9. Submit your attempts in the comment section below. I'd like to hear how successful or unsuccessful you are in your attempts to figure out these card arts. I will be revealing the answers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, here are the answers. How many of them did you get? Special bonus points for you if you manage to get number 8, Surveillance Sweep. That globe, man, almost no one ever plays this card, and even if you do, I don't think you notice that globe. I reckon a lot of you would have said New Angela Soul in its place, and it does have a blue globe too, but it has a different background. Pretty nuanced there. Anyway, I hope y'all did well with the quiz. I'd like to see how everyone did. But for now, we're moving on to our final section, which is my after action review of the live stream I did with my Dumble Fox deck. Not really mine. I stole it from Big Boy because why not? So some comments on the games. Oh, before I move on, whoops. If you haven't watched the live stream yet, check it out first because this obviously contains spoilers. And of course, you won't really understand what's going on if you hadn't watched the games yet. So let's begin. In my game versus Blue Sun, there was a situation where my opponent was threatening game point with the remote, and I had to kill the Orion on the remote. I had spoon and knife in hand, and I decided to spoon into server 1. Now, when I spooned it, there wasn't a Hadrian's Wall there. The Hadrian's Wall was unres rather. So when they res the Hadrian's Wall, I decided to continue on, spend 2 David tokens so that I could encounter the Orion and break it with MK Ultra. This was a mistake. What I should have done, pointed out by the big boy himself, was that I should have bounced out. Now, it sounds very counterintuitive to purposely make your cutlery run fail, but I could afford to do that because I had same old thing installed. A better line of play would be to check out first click, spend click 2 knifing the Hadrian's Wall, which I could do with David's, and then clicks 3 and 4 would be same old spoon. Therefore, I didn't have to break the Hadrian's Wall twice. With this way that I'm doing it, I have to break the Hadrian's Wall once through the spoon, and then a second time later when I went to knife the Hadrian's Wall. That was a mistake. So basically what happened here was that I was tunnel vision into making the spoon run successful, when in fact I could afford to lose 1 cutlery because that would save me on ice-breaking resources. Another instance where I failed to consider the power of same old thing came when I had to contest the Oversight AI Curtain War on Archives before a levy. At this point, I needed money for the levy, So I intended to click for credit, install Liberated, and then take money. The problem with this was I needed to contest the curtain wall, and I didn't have enough clicks to install the Liberated and then install a new David from my hand to take out the curtain wall. So what I did here was to click for credits, install David, and run archives, which seemed intuitive. The correct solution here was to use same old thing to recur money, a thing that you usually only do with prepaid Kate. But even without prepaids, that was the correct solution here, because what else was I going to use the same old thing for? Let's be honest, the levy's in my hand. I spent so much effort keeping it in my hand, I should be rewarded for it. So I should have used same old thing to recur either Dirty Laundry or Gamble, so that after installing David and running the archives, I would have more money, and I wouldn't need to click for credits to install Liberated. I would have enough money to install Liberated the very next turn. So that was a mistake. Not using same old thing flexibly enough. I'm always tunneled into using same old thing for either cutlery or levy. But clearly, sometimes the right play is to use it for money or even deja vu. Another mistake I made was in the HB game, where on turn 2, or rather turn 1, my opponent created a remote and left centrals undefended. I exploited this by, or rather, I didn't exploit this. Of course, I couldn't really place much pressure as Dumble Fox early, so I instead went for the setup with Sure Gamble, I've Had Worse, and Queen's Gambit, the remote. But even though I'm Dumble Fox, this doesn't mean that I can't place pressure early. I should have pressured the remote by running it straight up. What's the worst that could hit me? Architect isn't that bad on click 1. First turn rather, because my opponent doesn't have much to install from hand. And if it's any other ice, I won't lose any programs. If it's a Fairchild, I can simply click through it. There's nothing really bad that happens that prevents me from using my Sure Gamble. So what I really should have done here was to just hit the remote. The problem is, when I didn't hit the remote, I played the gamble, I tried to set up, intending to contest the remote next turn. By then it was too late, because my opponent got a second piece of ice on server 1, thereby making it nigh impossible to contest the remote. So always contest the remote early, so that you can open an opportunity for you to contest it later. Also, forcing an ice res is very important if the remote's an Adonis. By forcing an ice res, you might delay the Adonis for 1 or 2 more turns, and that is all the time you need to set up yourself. So this was a very important mistake that I made that ended up costing me the game. Finally, if there's one thing I did correctly in my entire playthrough, that was trashing pack campaigns against CTM. I mean, that sounds obvious, right? Well, not always. I think a lot of people would not have trash pack campaign in my situation, or at least those less experienced in this matchup. There was a pack campaign that my opponent installed in server 1 since the very start of the game, and I trashed it only on turn 6 because I spent turns 2, 3, 4, and 5 contesting my opponent's remotes, trying to suppress the Senseis, which was more higher up on the priority list. That's fair enough. However, when you reach turn 6, you look at your opponent's credit pool, you ask yourself, is it even worth it trashing the pet, taking the tag, clearing the tag? What if I get hard-hitting used? Never ever say that, because what happened this game was, even though my opponent was on 21 credits by turn 10, he had another 2 pack campaigns up, I still went to trash them, and it paid off massively, because at the end of the game, when I made my final Hail Mary run on R&D for the double medium access, my opponent couldn't keep me out. Even though I didn't have enough cards to break both the Archangel and Resistor, while I was tag flooded, I was able to trace through the ice, because I successfully contested the pack campaigns earlier. Had I not done that, my opponent would be on 20-something credits right now, and there would be no way at all that I can get past the Archangel Resistor server. So this just exemplifies the importance of killing pack campaigns. Even though when it seems your opponent has all the money in the world, trust me, CTM actually runs out of credits faster than you think. So yeah, that was one good play that came out of it. So I hope you enjoyed the analysis, and I hope you enjoyed my live streams and some of the things I've introduced in this video. I hope you enjoy the year coming up ahead as well. Happy 2017 to everyone, and a happy net running to all of you as well. See you all in the future. Goodbye.